Hey guys, welcome back to another item review video. Today we're looking at the Gamesir X2 Pro game controller for Android. Now, this is a plug-and-play controller you can use on your Android device. It also has an iPhone version, but we're not looking at that one today. I picked this up for Prime Day. I believe it was $60 instead of a retail of $80, so it was a pretty good deal. Now, this version is made for Xbox, so you can see it's licensed, designed for it, and it actually comes with 1 month of Gamepass if you don't already have it. Some more information on the back that we're not going to read, and let's open it up. To a pleasant surprise, we are greeted with not only the controller in a box, but it comes with its own hard shell carrying case. Now, if you have an Android device as your main mobile gaming device and it's not your daily driver, this is actually a great place to just keep it. Keep it in here with the actual controller and you have nothing to worry about. It's almost like a mini Switch in that way. So let's open it up. And very spacious. You have little pockets back here. Gaming is winning. Real dork stuff. Okay, looks like you have a manual here with some more information that we're not going to read. You have a sticker which indicates that you are a cool kid who can't not play video games, so you use your phone for it. And it comes with the Gamepass code and then another manual, which is actually useful if you want to learn how to, map everything correctly and you want to play around with it. But without further ado, let's get to the actual item. I do like how it comes with a little strap here that you can, keep your stuff from jostling inside. Okay, and the device itself has this little film on top of the buttons. Let's get that out. And get these dusties off. Okay, and this is the layout. Now, the Gamesir X2 Pro does come in a white variation to look like the Xbox controller. I just thought the black one looks better. The Android device I have right now is black as well, so it's just a nice sleek fit. The thumbsticks feel really nice. It's almost a hybrid between an Xbox and a Nintendo Switch thumbstick. It's a little more narrow at the top. You don't have as much to grip on, but the travel is a lot better than the Switch. D-pad, nice and clicky. Start and select, clicky. I actually really like these face buttons. They're very clicky too. They're not very mushy at all. And then sticks, click. Xbox button is, it seems like it's digital and clicky, but it's also a little mushy. Nice mouse click shoulder buttons and pressure sensitive triggers. And we also have some programmable back buttons here. Not as clicky as some other buttons, but still very good quality. So let's go ahead and put our device in. Now, most gaming controllers you'll see, they'll have some type of cushioning here to make sure that your phone is not getting scratched on the plastic. And what that usually means is that this USB-C stick, this one actually flexes so it's easier to put your device in there, will not fit cases. So I have a Pixel 6, this is the case I use, and because of this little spacer here, that's just not enough to make a connection. So I took the case off, not a big deal. If you're using your daily driver, it may be annoying to take it off and on over and over again, but that is just something you deal with. So we put it in here, extend it, and slide it in. And it's in there. And it feels pretty secure. Plenty of space for the camera bump. Depending on what phone you have, Pixel 6 has a pretty big camera bump, but it's not really going vertical, it's going horizontal. But it fits fine, it sits flush. And let's see what we can get into. All right, here's a quick size comparison between the X2 Pro and the Switch. It's about the same width. Thickness, it's definitely a lot thicker. That's because the controller has more of a grip than the Switch does. Compared to the Steam Deck, it is smaller, of course. Joysticks are definitely smaller. I would say the joysticks are in between the Switch and the Steam Deck. but it's definitely thinner than the Steam Deck, as you can see here. And then just for another comparison, we have the Analog Pocket here. Pocket is a horizontal device, but put it side by side, definitely smaller. And thickness is also thicker than the Pocket. So the setup is pretty straightforward. You go ahead and plug the controller in. There is a QR code you can scan, or just you go to the Google Play Store or App Store if you're using it on iPhone, and you download the Gamesir app. Go ahead and then add your controller. And then from here, it'll tell you, you can go test the gamepad here, test the button inputs, see everything works. You can go to firmware upgrade if there is one. Let's go ahead and see if there is. And there is. So we'll update that firmware. Okay, firmware updated. Okay, so once you're in the home setting, I don't know what to call it, you can go here, My Games, and it'll go ahead and scan essentially everything that could be used as a game. We have a few different examples here. We have Duck Station, we have some emulators essentially. We have Call of Duty Mobile, Mega Man, Dive. So just a few games we can test things on. We also have Gamepass. So we saw the games loaded on here for display purposes. Just some other settings that you can do in this app. You can go ahead and set Xbox layout or a Switch layout, which will be useful for some Nintendo type games, which I'll show you in a second. So we hit use up here, setup done. Now I did notice once you're here, it doesn't really do anything tapping on the game. The best thing to do is just to go to that emulator. Right now I have GBA loaded up. You see Gamesir X2 Pro is set up. And it works fine. A counts as A. Sorry, this would be B, but they have the Switch set up right now. So this is counting as A, whereas before, if it's Xbox setup, B would be A. And I know that sounds very confusing, but yeah. Now, because this is a Game Boy Advance game, thumbstick doesn't work. I'm sure you can go into RetroArch itself and set something up to make it work, but I actually really like this D-pad, and it's comfortable. So it runs really well. I'm not really gonna do a in-depth gameplay because I don't want to, but no, it's dope. It auto-synced, it had no issues. Now you'll see here, I still have the overlay on here, and that's just so I can still use the fast forward option and get back to the menu here if I need to. All right, now we're in with some DS emulation, playing Mario Kart 7, and yeah, this game has no issues at all. But again, I don't know why I'm acting like I'm reviewing the game. The gamepad is just comfortable. It, again, DS doesn't have a stick, so you can't really use a stick. You could go ahead and configure it, but no need. The shoulder buttons feel nice and clicky. I really like it. It's like mouse clicks. The D-pad is also very nice. I can see this getting a little cramped up just because it's a little low, but it's really not too bad. You can even take your finger off the top or configure it in a different way if you're just going to be using here. Yeah, let's go ahead and move to some more intensive games that require more buttons and see how that does. Back with some PSP emulation that's using the thumbstick now. I'm not a professional driver, as you can tell. Oh, that's the e-brake. Well, shoulder buttons work. Let's hit a sick, nasty drift. Ready? First part was cool. Alright, next game. Now we are playing a GameCube game.
Hey, Slippy, don't get cocky.
Slippy, you've already got bogeys on your tail.
Using the buttons,
I'm in trouble.
clicking around.
Thanks, Fox. I thought I was a goner.
You haven't changed a bit, frog boy. Cornelia Army now commencing third volley of cannon fire. Andross's ships are being destroyed one after the other. Can't give up now.
Andross's fleet is dead ahead. They're everywhere.
Okay, Falco and Slippy, take the left side. Crystal and Fox, hit the right. Everyone strike now.
All right. Hit them hard and don't hold back.
There is a way to map the back buttons to the face buttons, and I believe you don't need to set that up in the app. So you just hold Start Select and the back button until that light blinks. Let's say we want A. Okay, so now we go back and unpause emulation. And now the back button is mapped to A. Alright, so a few things I want to mention that I missed prior is, I actually overlooked this, but the controller does come with thumbstick, both concave and convex grips, which is a pretty good addition. And also, there is a pass-through USB-C charging. This controller doesn't have its own battery, it uses your phone battery. The only downside is some phones, like the Pixel, doesn't allow pass-through charging. So if you are charging your device, you can't use the gamepad. So that is a negative, but it's not a deal breaker. The other thing I want to mention when it comes to games like COD Mobile or anything else, so I usually have a VPN running on my devices. I just think it's good practice, but that VPN does restrict certain things on apps. And one thing I wanted to do was use this on COD Mobile. So with COD Mobile, you can see here, mapping needed. So I went through the setup, and it does walk you through pretty clearly on how to set this up. You can go ahead and launch it. You have to go through some settings and enable things, but then when you launch it in VTouch mode, instead of running it through the actual app, you have this little indicator up top. When you click on that, you can go to more settings and then go to how you want to set up how things are mapped. One thing that is actually really dope is, depending on the game you're running, there's some presets. So I use the COD multiplayer preset, and it mapped things pretty well. So let's go ahead and see how the game runs doing a multiplayer match. So I have gyroscope enabled just because it's a little easier to aim. So if you see me tilting, that's why. Let's go ahead. And all the buttons are mapped.
Enemy in sight.
Now, does it feel great? It feels all right. This COD Mobile is meant to be played with the touchscreen, so having a controller input is not quite the same.
Enemy contact. Get down, sniper. Reloading.
But also, you're not playing with good people, as you can see.
Sniper eliminated. I got shot. Friendly hunter killer drone deployed. UAV online. Targets in sight. Predators waiting orders. Reloading. Grenade. Contact with enemy. Target down. UAV recon ready for deployment. Predator missile inbound.
I'm still getting used to the controls here and what I map things to.
Tango down. UAV online.
And you can also go into COD settings and get rid of this overlay if you want more screen, or at least make it more increase or decrease the opacity so you can see more of the screen and not the controls. But overall, it does work well with something like COD Mobile. This game is very stingy with how you use external devices. It allows Bluetooth for Xbox and PS4 controllers, PS5 controllers, but things like this, I think if you use the backbone controller, it works well as well, but this is a good workaround. Definitely not perfect, but it is a good use for it, and I have no issues, and it actually impresses me quite a lot. There's of course some tweaking you can do to make it a little bit more efficient, a little bit more comfortable, but that just comes with you playing and then going to the settings, then playing and going to the settings. So it works really well with a game that is not really nice with this kind of accessory. So let's go ahead and pick a game and stream the game and see how well it does.
Yes! 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 We're going home! Oh, easy there, big guy. You're not status report.
Okay, so we are in the Halo Infinite campaign.
We can't go anywhere while that stasis beam is active. Then we shut it down.
And this is something that might not be the fault of the Gamesir controller, but more so just Gamepass in general. It is game streaming, so you need a good connection to play. I'm currently in a hotel with hotel Wi-Fi. Download is 30, so it's not the best Wi-Fi, and you can see that, right? Now, there is some input delay, not a lot. I jump, right? It's a little choppy, but it's still pretty playable. I would have to try this with home Wi-Fi, better Wi-Fi, to see how that runs. But this is definitely a better option than touchscreen controls. So if you already have Game Pass Ultimate and you have the streaming available and you have good Wi-Fi, I definitely think this is a good alternative than having a PC or console, or just playing when you're traveling away from home. But even for this crappy hotel Wi-Fi, it works pretty well. Now, what would be a better game to play on Game Pass with potential latency would be a turn-based game, because you're not really worried about input delay or anything like that. You have more time to react and do things. But this is still very, very playable. I just wouldn't prefer this method of play. Let's try another game and see how that looks. Now we're in Forza Horizon 5. Again, not a turn-based game like I said, but this is a game that I see used a lot for cloud streaming, and it's heavily marketed. It's also good to test out the pressure-sensitive analog triggers. And I have more details on that too, so I'll put all the specs for everything out later. just to show the pressure sensitivity, if I slightly just tap on the gas, I'm coasting at it. If I go more pressure, more pressure, more pressure, RPMs go up in the car. So it does in fact work, and it works pretty accurately and well. Okay guys, that was my review of the Gamesir X2 Pro controller for Android. What are my thoughts? I think this device is good. The build quality feels nice and doesn't feel like cheap plastic. The buttons are clicky and responsive. The joysticks are very good for the form factor that you're getting. You get Hall effect analog triggers that are pressure sensitive, and you also get programmable back buttons. And it feels overall really good in the hands. The device is plug and play for most games available on mobile, but you're really going to want to download the Gamesir app to get most out of the tech. Am I a fan of giving this app access to my device? No, but I can see why it would require some of that access. It needs to sync with a different variety of games, and it also needs that added layer of access to make things like button mapping work. I was confused on some of the setup instructions, but that was more so on my end, not really based on the instructions provided by Gamesir. So what is the use case for this thing? I mean, it's marketed as licensed by Xbox, so it's used for Gamepass primarily, and like you saw, that works. Game streaming is more dependent on internet connection, and that will be the main reason you either get a good or bad experience with Game Pass games. If you don't have Game Pass, it comes with a month of Game Pass, so you can try it out as well. The alternative would be to also stream from a PC or console that you have, but you need to download the games that you own to that console or PC before you can stream it on here. This device is also compatible with other streaming services like Amazon Luna, although I didn't demo that, but I'd imagine it's similar to Game Pass. Where I think this accessory shines the best are games installed on the mobile device itself. Some games like Genshin Impact and COD Mobile are restrictive to touch controls or Bluetooth controllers, but the button mapping feature comes in very clutch. Other built-in games like Mega Man X Dive or emulation-based games work like a charm. There might be some tweaking you have to do, but it's not foreign territory if you're used to setting up emulators already. The X2 Pro comes in at $80, which isn't cheap, but it's also sub 100, so that's not bad either. The use case I see for this is if you prefer playing games on your phone. There are a slew of emulation devices. There's the Switch also, the Steam Deck, so really just endless ways to play handheld, which is always a good thing. Now, how often would I use this? I'm not sure. I think I'd have to use it more to really get a feel for how comfortable it is and how convenient it is for me. I did pick this up on sale for $60, so that's a better bullet to bite, but it does have its drawbacks. You can't use this with your case on. Some devices don't allow pass-through charging while playing, like this phone, and configuration is a necessary step if you want full integration in most games. I would give this device a solid 8 out of 10. When comparing it to things like the Backbone, which is $100 for the Android version, it's a little bigger in size, but it has more quality to it in my opinion. You get controller quality inputs and a case to bundle all together. Now I'm curious as to what you guys think. If you're a mobile gamer, is this something you would use? The Pixel I have is a secondary device and it's not my daily driver, so I can get away with installing games and letting it be primarily a gaming device. But is it necessary? That depends on the user. Let me know down in the basement of the video, which is the comments. I'm very curious to hear your thoughts and opinions. I had fun making this video and try an accessory that enables you to play more comfortably. I'm always a fan of that. As always, I appreciate you guys watching the videos. I love making tech reviews on items I'd personally use, and I hope this was helpful to some of you guys who are debating on if this device is worth it. If you liked the video, please leave a like. If you want to stay tuned for more videos in the future, please subscribe. Or don't, but you should. The channel is growing more and more every day, and that's dope. Again, Thank you all, and I'll see you in the next one. Okay, thanks, bye. Future me here, just to say, I actually ended up uninstalling the software that Gamesir recommends you use. It's just buggy, and Android reports it as not safe, and a lot of forums and online have been saying the same thing. Can I confirm that? No, but I don't really need it. I use this mostly for emulators. I've been playing Dragon Ball Tenkaichi G3 a lot on the PS2, and it works great for that. I really don't see a need to have a software on there that's in your device's business for no reason, but you don't need it. This device is plug and play for almost everything if you don't need to map touchscreen controls to the actual buttons. So emulators, cloud streaming, all of that is available just by plugging this in. I actually plan on making a video on just Android emulation in general, and also how cloud stream gaming is using this device. So if you guys are looking forward to that, cool. If you're not, well, you're gonna get it.